What a wonderful, what a beautiful crowd. Befitting an absolutely glorious room. And I was listening to the ambassador's remarks. I thought, well, what a burden to put on the children of the ambassador and Mrs. Tom. Because the kids of all of the previous inhabitants of this residence seem to have gone on and done great things. So I don't know if Strickland and Mrs. Tom have children, but they can either found a record company or become CEOs, or in the next generation, maybe even the first Turkish president of the United States. You can certainly be elected if your name is Mukhtar. But first of all, I cannot tell you how honored I was to be asked to serve as honorary host for this evening. I also understand how perilous it is to make lengthy remarks when I'm standing between you and what I know is going to be a fabulous musical evening. By way of apology for the members of Congress who aren't here, a number of them had RSVP'd affirmatively. I know they would like to be here, but I'm happy they're not, because we are actually finally moving on the President's trade agenda. Great peril of being optimistic about anything in this town, but tomorrow Congress will finally vote on our trade agreements with Korea, Panama, Colombia, as well as renewing our generalized system of preferences and trade adjustment assistance. And so tonight they are actually debating the rule as we speak. So as much as I would love to have them here, I want them in Congress taking care of their business. And if I have to step out early, I hope you will understand why, because we are monitoring this. When I was asked to serve as honorary chair, I jumped at the opportunity to do this because the ambassador and his office were kind enough to give me a little bit of the history of this series. And frankly, I'll be honest, for me, this was very personal. I'm 57 years old. I grew up in the segregated South. And because of my upbringing and where we lived, my family lived in a house maybe about a quarter of the size of this upper floor. And my dad was a postal clerk, and my mother was a school teacher. But in the 1960s, that made us middle class. And when I came of age, we did not have public accommodations. And so still, when blacks, whether you were Ray Charles or Dizzy Gillespie, traveled, you stayed in the homes of people that would take you. And I don't want to at all make anything about Jim Crow or desegregation sound romantic, but my parents were blessed to build a new house. And our names were one of the names musicians were given, that if you got to Austin, call Willie Mae and Lee Kirk. And so it was because of that I not only fell in love with music, but I met people like Louis Jordan. Now you know Louis Armstrong, but I knew Louis Jordan, and one of my mother's best friends was one of the original writers for Motown, a fellow by the name of Gil Askew. And as a young boy, I got to come home one day and have my mother excitedly tell me that Gil Askew was in Austin. And not only in Austin, but in our house. And I was playing ball. I didn't want to meet some old songwriter guy. And so she makes me go around with my brother and sisters in the neighborhood. And we come home and we meet this guy who ends up being the coolest human being I've ever met in my life. And as we were about to leave, my mother was one of those wonderful Southern cooks that always had food. And we knew as kids there was like our food and there was like food for company. There was this feast, which I recognized, and I so wanted something. And I turned to my mother and said, "Mother, can I have this?" She says, "No, those are for Gil's girls." And we were like, "Well, who are Gil's girls?" She goes, "Well, I don't know. It's some girls Gil is writing music for." And so she says, "And leave them alone because they're performing." And so my brother and I just peeled open the door to our dining room, and sitting at our dining room table were Diana Ross and the Supremes. And I learned this history of how someone with courage and someone, frankly, new to our country would not be bound or constrained by our own rules of imposition and understand the power of music. to help, to bring people together, to transform our lives. I was frankly honored at the opportunity to be here. Now, I'm supposed to tell you it's all about trade, and you know the relationship between Turkey and the United States is strong. It's a wonderful strategic partner. The trade relationship is good. But we know more lives have been transformed because of music, because of art, because of poetry, and that is what moves our children. That's what speaks to their hearts. And now, as we've gone from vinyl records and Atlantic to the digital age and downloading, we have the power to share our cultures, our history, our writing, our poetry with billions of people around the world. And I can't help but reflect on the role somehow our culture is playing in the incredible change we're seeing all throughout the world, even in the Middle East and North Africa, because we have the ability now, frankly, to wire around government. But thank God that our friends from Turkey were doing this for a period of time that it took extraordinary courage. So, as much as tonight we celebrate a rich tradition of music and a love of jazz, I hope we also never lose that spirit of the power of one individual to transform a community by saying, my friends will always be welcome in my front door. So, Ambassador, you are welcome at USTR. I would love to take you to Austin, Texas, and meet my 90-year-old mother. And let her share with you her love of music and how it's transformed our life. But thank you all for joining.